Paradrama Tales.
She said it was cream, and I said, if you love it, go for it. Because that's who I thought I was. A laid-back bride, a good friend. Someone who didn't make everything about herself. But standing at the altar, with everyone whispering and staring, I finally realized, maybe I should have. Anna has been in my life since high school. She was my chaos and my calm, the one who stayed up with me after heartbreaks, who made me laugh when everything else felt heavy. We've grown together, college careers, cross-country moves. She's been my constant. So when I got engaged, there wasn't even a question. Of course, she would be my maid of honor. And I wanted everything about my wedding to feel personal, generous, warm. Not a production, not a checklist, not a performance. I wanted my friends, my bridesmaids, to feel good in their own skin, not shoved into a one-size-fits-no-one dress they'd hate. So I gave them freedom. I picked a color palette, earthy neutrals, sand clay, taupe, soft sage tones that felt calm and timeless. And I said, pick what makes you feel beautiful. Anna sent me a few dress options. One was olive green, another a warm mocha. And then there was that satin one, a soft ivory cream that shimmered in the light. I paused when I saw it. It wasn't exactly white, but it wasn't exactly not white either. I hesitated. She caught it. Too close, she asked. And here's the part that still plays in my head, on a loop. I said, it's a little close, but if you love it, go for it. Because I didn't want to be that bride. Didn't want to micromanage. Didn't want her to feel like I didn't trust her. I thought I was being chill. I thought I was being modern, gracious, the kind of friend who knows how to let go. I didn't know that dress would become the first crack in something I thought was unbreakable. I didn't know it would photograph like snow under the lights, or that it would leave me explaining to guests that, yes, I did approve it, even as my stomach twisted with regret. But most of all, I didn't know that a moment meant to celebrate our bond would leave me wondering if she ever saw me as anything more than someone she could quietly outshine. When she sent me the photo, I remember pausing. The fabric was beautiful, I'll give her that. It had this soft sheen, a sort of pearly elegance that made it look almost vintage. The silhouette was simple, tasteful. She looked stunning in it, but it was pale, not beige, not champagne, cream, off-white, whisper close to bridal. My eyes lingered on it longer than I let her know. I reread her message. This is my favorite so far, but totally tell me, if it's too close to white, I'll find something else. And that should have been my moment. That was my out. She gave me permission, maybe not enthusiastically, but it was there. I could have said, yeah, it's gorgeous, but maybe we play it safer. I could have suggested the mocha one, or the olive green, or even offered to help her look again. But I didn't. Instead, I replied, it's a little close, but if you love it, go for it. There it was. My hesitation buried in politeness, disguised as generosity. And I wish I could say, I don't know why I said it, but I do. I didn't want to be that bride, the controlling one, the one people roll their eyes at, the one who nitpicks every flower petal and has meltdowns over napkin folds. I wanted to be the cool bride, the understanding one, the one who trusts her people, especially Anna, because we had always been unfiltered with each other. So I figured if she really thought it might be too much, she wouldn't even ask. If she had any doubt about whether it might upstage me, she'd never risk it. Right. But now I see it differently. Now I see that she sent the picture because she already knew it was close and wanted me to absolve her of having to make the respectful choice on her own. She wanted my blessing, not my honesty. And I gave it to her, even as my gut tightened, even as a voice inside me whispered, you'll regret this. I muted that voice, told myself I was being paranoid, that our friendship was stronger than a dress. But now I look back and wonder if that moment, that tiny decision to protect her feelings instead of my own, wasn't the beginning of the problem, but the pattern playing out one final time. I didn't notice it at first. When Anna walked into the bridal suite that morning, hair-curled bouquet in hand, she looked radiant, confident. The cream satin dress clung to her in just the right way, fluid and elegant. I smiled at her, hugged her, tried to swallow the flicker of unease that rose in my throat. It's perfect, I said, because what else could I say? I'd already given her the green light. But then the photos started coming in. First from my cousin's iPhone, a wide shot of me and my bridesmaids before the ceremony, and there it was, that stark contrast I hadn't fully seen before. Next to the warm terracotta, the sage green, the soft taupe, Anna's dress popped. Not in a subtle elegance kind of way, in a center of attention kind of way. White. Not bridal white exactly, but in photos. With that satin sheen under daylight and flash, it looked bridal enough for people to notice, and they did. The whispers started slowly at first, just small side comments from distant relatives. Bold choice for a bridesmaid. Huh. Did she not get the memo? By the time we made it to cocktail hour, it wasn't just comments, it was looks, glances, lingering eyes on her dress then darting back to mine. I heard someone near the bar murmur, "She's wearing white." I mean, come on. And that was the moment something inside me cracked. Not because I was jealous, not because I thought she looked better than me, but because I had tried so hard to make room for everyone, to create a space where my friends felt beautiful, confident, valued. And in return, I was fielding rumors at my own wedding about whether my maid of honor was trying to outshine me. I wanted to believe it was all coincidence, that the fabric just read differently on camera, that people were reading too much into it. But then I saw the way Anna carried herself, the way she stepped into every group photo slightly in front, the way she twirled when people complimented her dress, and they did often. Not once did she turn the spotlight back to me. That's when it hit me. Whether it was intentional or not, the effect was the same. On a day that was supposed to be about celebration and unity, I was spending more energy defending my discomfort than feeling like the bride. And no one should have to do that, least of all with their best friend. It took me 3 full toasts and half a glass of champagne to gather the nerve. We were midway through the reception. The music was flowing, the lights dimmed just enough, and on the surface everything looked perfect. But I wasn't in the moment anymore. Everywhere I turned, there she was, in that dress, that glowing camera-loving dress. Turning heads not in admiration for the bride, but in confusion discomfort, like people couldn't decide if this was a miscommunication or something worse. I kept telling myself, let it go, let it go. But each time I looked at a photo on someone's phone or saw her leaning into conversations that should have been mine to lead, I felt it, that weight, that why am I shrinking on my own day feeling? So I pulled her aside, out of the reception hall, past the music and the twinkle lights into a side hallway, where the only sound was the dull thump of bass through the walls. She turned to me, smiling like everything was fine. "You okay?" I didn't yell, didn't cry. I just breathed and said, "Hey, I need to ask you something. Would you mind throwing on a shawl or wrap? Just to tone down the brightness of the dress a little?" Her smile vanished. Instantly. "Are you serious right now?" she snapped. "I'm not trying to make a scene," I said quickly. Some people have been talking and it's making me really uncomfortable. I just need this to feel like my day again." She crossed her arms. "So now I'm the villain. You approved the dress. You literally said, go for it. And now, because you're feeling insecure, I'm the bad guy." It stung, not because she was yelling she wasn't, but because she didn't even pause to consider how I might be feeling. She didn't ask, "Are you okay?" She didn't say I didn't mean to upstage you. She didn't say anything that sounded like friendship, just, "You're being ridiculous." And that was it. Something inside me hardened. I didn't lash out. I just looked at her and said, "If you won't respect what I'm asking, I think you need to leave." She stared at me like I'd slapped her. Then she turned and walked out. No hug, no word. And just like that, my maid of honor, my best friend, left my wedding. When the door shut behind her, it was quiet. Not just in that hallway. I mean, yes, out there, the music kept playing, the drinks kept flowing. The DJ hadn't missed a beat, but something in me had gone still. It was like a pause pressed itself into the middle of the night, cutting straight through the joy, and I stood there in my wedding dress wondering if I had just made everything worse, or finally made something clear. When I walked back into the reception, I could feel it. People noticed. The empty space at the head table, the sideways glances. One of my cousins whispered, "Where's Anna?" I just smiled tight-lipped and said, "She had to leave." That was all I could offer. A few friends came up to me confused, some trying to get the full story, others giving me that look, the one that says, "Was it worth it?" And I kept asking myself that too, not out of regret, but out of exhaustion. Because I hadn't wanted a confrontation. I hadn't wanted her to leave. I had just wanted her to see me, to really see me, to realize that I wasn't asking her to stop shining. I was just asking her not to do it at the cost of dimming me. But I guess that was too much. The rest of the night went on. And it was beautiful, really. There were tears and laughter and dancing. People toasted to love, to forever, to new beginnings. And I smiled. I took photos. I laughed in all the right places. But there was a hollowness beneath it, because no one else would ever know what that day could have been if my best friend had chosen to stand beside me, fully, humbly, generously, instead of fighting me on my own feelings. I kept waiting for a text, a message. A note slipped under the hotel room door that said, "I'm sorry. I was wrong." But it never came. And maybe that's the hardest part of all, not that she wore the wrong color, not that she left, but that when it came down to one moment of choosing me, she didn't. You spend your whole life thinking being a bride means being celebrated. That for once the spotlight is yours and no one questions it. You wear the dress, people lift their glasses, and everyone is just happy for you. No fine print, no asterisk, no side-eye. But that night, I found out what it feels like to be both the bride and the villain in the same breath. Because the whispers didn't stop when Anna walked out, they just changed tone. She made her leave. Over a dress, aren't they best friends? Suddenly, I wasn't the glowing woman people had flown in to celebrate. I was the insecure girl who couldn't share attention, the one who ruined the vibe. And the worst part? They weren't strangers. They were people I had known for years. People who had sat at my dinner table, hugged me through breakups, texted me at midnight when life got hard. But they weren't in that hallway. They didn't hear the way Anna snapped. They didn't see the years of small slights that built to that moment, the history that made this dress feel like more than fabric. They only saw the aftermath. And in the aftermath, I looked controlling, emotional, unforgiving. It's funny, all my life I was told to be accommodating, to be the cool girl, to be understanding, to pick your battles. But apparently even on your wedding day, you're not allowed to draw a line. Apparently asking not to be overshadowed makes you a tyrant. Apparently standing up for your boundaries makes you the problem. And the silence from Anna after the fact, it was loud. No apology, no explanation, just nothing, which left me holding all the weight and none of the grace. So I smiled through the brunch the next morning. I nodded as people told me the day was magical, and I kept wondering why I felt like the only one who noticed the fracture. Because sometimes you can lose something big, a friendship, a part of your history, and the world around you just keeps spinning like nothing happened. They see the dress, the flowers, the cake, but they don't see the quiet grief tucked behind your mascara. I was the bride, but in their version of the story, I was also the one who ruined it. It would be easy to say this all fell apart because of a dress, but that's not the truth. The dress was just the symptom, the last 5 inches in a very long thread that had been unraveling for years. Because when I look back, really look back, there were signs. Anna always had a way of making herself the center of things, even in rooms that weren't hers. She wasn't malicious, just magnetic. She knew how to light up a space and draw people in, and I loved that about her, until I realized how often she did it when I needed just a little space of my own. Like the night of my promotion party, she showed up late in a red cocktail dress that drew every eye in the room and spent most of the night talking about how her job was killing her soul. Or my engagement dinner, where she made a toast that was more about how surprised she was that I was the one getting married first. I laughed it off, every time, because that's what you do with old friends, right? You give grace. You assume the best. You don't rock the boat over moments that feel too small to name, but never quite sit right. But that wedding dress moment, that was different. Because for once I had drawn the boundary. I had said, this is my moment. Just this once, let me have it. And instead of respecting that, she turned it into a test. She wore the dress that skirted the edge of disrespect and waited to see if I'd be too polite to say something. And for a while I was. But the difference between maturity and silence is that silence eventually bursts. And mine did in a hallway on my wedding night, under the weight of too many almosts and not enough consideration. I realized then, some friendships are built on real reciprocity. Others are built on the quiet agreement that one person will always make more room than the other. For years I had shrunk just a little, so Anna could feel big. It wasn't something she asked for directly. It was just something I learned to do, until I couldn't anymore. So, no, I didn't lose a friend over a dress. I lost her over all the times I didn't say no, all the times I handed her the spotlight thinking she'd eventually offer to share it. Turns out she never intended to. People keep asking if we've talked since the wedding, if we've made up, if we're going to be okay. And I don't know how to explain that. Okay isn't a switch you flip back on. It's a bridge that has to be rebuilt one word, one truth, one act of accountability at a time. And right now, that bridge is still ashes. It's not that I'm angry, not anymore. That kind of anger burned fast, the kind that comes from shock, from public embarrassment, from watching someone walk away in the middle of your most vulnerable moment. But what's left now is something quieter, more complicated. It's the grief that comes with being let down by someone you never thought would. It's the sadness of watching a friendship you protected for so long fail to protect you back. People say, just forgive her, and I want to. I do. But forgiveness to me doesn't mean pretending it didn't hurt. It doesn't mean brushing it under the rug just to keep the peace. It doesn't mean being the bigger person, if that just means being the quieter one. Forgiveness means truth. It means naming what happened and having the other person actually look at it, not defend it, not deflect it, just see it. And Anna hasn't done that. Not a call, not a message, not even a text that says, "Hey, I didn't mean to hurt you, but I can see that I did." Instead, I hear through mutual friends that she thinks I made her out to be the villain, that I blew things out of proportion, that I embarrassed her. And maybe I did. But I also protected myself. That day wasn't just about celebration. It was also about clarity, because sometimes you need a moment, loud enough, bright enough, painful enough, to finally see the pattern you've been too loyal to question. So, yes, maybe one day I'll forgive her. But that doesn't mean I'll forget how it felt to stand in a hallway in my wedding dress, heart racing, asking someone I love to just see me, and hearing her say, "You're being ridiculous." Forgiveness starts where accountability begins. And I'm still waiting. I didn't want to lose her. That's the part that gets left out of stories like this. The ache that comes not from anger, but from letting go of someone you imagined would always be there. Someone who was supposed to hold your bouquet, not your spotlight. Someone who knew your middle school crushes and your grown-up insecurities and still chose to ignore what you needed most, just a little space to shine. But here's what I know now. Choosing yourself doesn't always feel like a victory. Sometimes it feels like standing alone at your own wedding, watching someone walk away and still knowing in your bones that you did the right thing. I could have kept the peace. I could have swallowed it like I had 100 times before. But that version of me would have walked back into that reception a little smaller, a little quieter, a little more invisible, on a day that was supposed to celebrate the opposite. So, no, I'm not proud that it ended like this, but I'm proud that I didn't betray myself to keep someone else comfortable. Because friendship, real friendship, doesn't ask you to make yourself small. It doesn't punish you for having boundaries. It doesn't twist your clarity into cruelty. And if you're watching this right now, maybe you know what I'm talking about. Maybe you've been told you were too sensitive, or made to feel like speaking up ruined the mood. Maybe you've lost someone, not because you stopped loving them, but because they stopped seeing you. If that's you, I see you. Leave a comment below if you've ever had to choose peace over people. Share the story you were told not to make a big deal out of. And if you're done apologizing for needing respect, hit subscribe. Because being the bride isn't about the dress or the day. It's about choosing a version of yourself that refuses to shrink even when the room isn't ready for your full size. You don't owe anyone silence to prove you're kind. You just owe yourself the truth.